What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Modern Mortgage Show, where I interview mortgage professionals who share their stories and valuable information about the industry. I'm your host, Rocco, and I'm excited to introduce my guest for the first show of the day. His name is Jason Kemelgor, and he's the branch manager at AnnieMac Home Mortgage out of Louisville, Kentucky. Jason, welcome to the show.
Absolutely. How are you, Rocco?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm well, brother. I'm well. I'm surviving this COVID-19 situation.
Absolutely. I appreciate you coming on today. So, Jason, let's start the show off. Can you please just tell us a little bit about yourself? Maybe give us a brief introduction of who you are.
Absolutely. My name is Jason Kemelgor. I'm the co-owner of the LPK group with AnnieMac Home Mortgage here in Louisville, Kentucky. My business partner, Mike Prestigiacomo, and I started the company 6 years ago. From a size perspective, we're around a $40 to $50 million branch is what we run and operate in. We've just opened up our second office down in Bowling Green, Kentucky, home of the Corvette. So you probably see some things behind me. I'm an ex-basketball player, athlete, played years in college and spent a few years overseas. The reality is that for me, mortgages are about connecting with people and being able to help.
Absolutely. So how long have you been in the industry?
So truthfully, I was a realtor before. So I spent many years as a real estate professional out in Charlotte, North Carolina and Fort Mill, South Carolina. I actually lived in Tegakay, South Carolina. Got out of that business in 2009, spent a few years in technology, bought a technology company, grew it, and then really missed just direct consumer to consumer. Business to business is so different. It's such a bottom line type of endeavor, Rocco, that I wanted to get back into something that allowed me to work with the general public. And instead of being out showing homes and dealing with home showings on a Saturday or a Sunday or a Friday night, I decided to look at the mortgage industry through Mike Prestigiacomo. Mike is a 17-year veteran, 9 years younger than me, but has never really done anything else. And so for the last 6 years, this is what we've done is grown this monster from $0 million to this month we're a little bit right around 5 million, 4.9 million we're closing.
So you became a realtor in 2009, you said?
I became a realtor in actually 2003, 2002, and then spent 6 years in that industry. Loved it. But as you know, as a real estate professional, open houses and showings and so on and so forth, they take you away from the home. Here, you and I are, as a mortgage professional, one of the unique properties is you can even use technology like this to do your job and do it efficiently and effectively.
Yep. So you said you guys started that branch in 2014?
You're exactly right.
Okay. So tell us about, so you said you were a basketball player. Tell us about your work before you got into the industry.
So, you know, for me, it's been many, many years that I've been working through situations and scenarios of learning how to lead myself and be an entrepreneur. My father is Dr. Bruce Kemelgor. He's head of the College of Business, University of Louisville, taught entrepreneurship, small business management. And I really was a person that was looking for the opportunity to find a business and be in a business that allowed me to work one-on-one with people like yourself or husbands and wives and families. Real estate was awesome. Don't get it wrong. When I say real estate, we're still in real estate, but as a realtor, I loved it, but it pulls you away. You have to leave your house. You have to go show the homes. You know, that's very different. I still wanted that interaction. And what I found was in the mortgage profession, I'm able to work with facts. I don't make up the rates. The rates are what they are. I'm able to work with numbers, which I like numbers, and I'm able to help because the difference in the mortgage side that's so unique is you get into credit scores and debt to income and life stories that superficially as a realtor, it didn't matter that this person was divorced 5 years ago. It didn't matter that they have child support. It didn't matter that they were a veteran and what they did necessarily because it didn't impact me as far as how I did the transaction. As a mortgage professional, it does. And so one of the things that I love, Rocco, about this world is the ability to communicate, educate, serve, and do it with some effort.
Awesome. So Jason, tell us about your basketball career.
Well, I started out, I signed with University of Southern Indiana in Evansville, Indiana. Unfortunately, at the time, I was a Prop 48, so they shipped me to Iowa Central Community College in Fort Dodge, Iowa, way out in the middle of no man's land. Some of my best friends and greatest memories were created out there. I spent my 2 years playing there, signed with Morehead State in Kentucky, played 1 year there, did not like it, absolutely didn't like it, made a bad decision, to be honest, and ended my career at the University of North Georgia in Dahlonega, Georgia.
Okay. And you said you played overseas as well?
Yes, sir. And Den Helder, Holland.
In Holland?
Holland, yeah, in the B League.
Oh, that's awesome. So you said you're big on leadership. Do you read any leadership books?
Absolutely. I also really like books on tape. So the E-Myth Revisited is a book that I'm a big proponent of. Dr. Stephen Covey is something that I'm very fond of and enjoy working through and with. The reality is that you have to provide mental fodder to yourself. If you don't search that out, Christine Beckwith with 2020 Vision is somebody that I study with. Carl White with the Mortgage Marketing Animals is somebody I study with. You know, yourself, Rocco, as you and I get acquainted with each other, the fact that you put yourself out there in some areas or some, if you will, capacities where most people wouldn't be comfortable doing what you're doing.
Oh, this is definitely out of my comfort zone if you knew me.
Well, you can't tell. You can't tell, man. You look like a pro.
Thank you. So yeah, there's really three kind of sections in leading. So leading yourself, leading the mission, and leading your team. Have you heard of Jocko Willink?
I have not, but I'll be write that down real quick.
Yeah, you have to read the book, The Dichotomy of Leadership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. They're former Navy SEALs. Now they have their own leadership company. So what they do is they go into big businesses and they train the people on leadership.
Interesting. You know, leadership is something that can be taught. Leadership is something that can be learned, but you have to have a willingness, and you must possess a willingness to not be egotistical, or if I like to say, close-minded, to where you think, oh, I know exactly how it needs to be done. No one knows how to get it done. The reality is this: in order to be a good leader, Rocco, you have to be a great follower. In order to lead, you must follow someone first.
Absolutely. You have to find the balance. So the word dichotomy means like finding the balance of the middle space. So for example, one of the dichotomies in the book was like, so micromanaging, or you're too hands off when you're being a leader. So you have to find the middle ground, because if you're too hands off, then your people aren't gonna, they're not gonna follow. If you're too hands on, then they're gonna come to you with every question because you're micromanaging them. So being an effective leader is definitely, you have to find that middle ground. You have to find that dichotomy. So definitely read that book.
You know, I will read that book, and I appreciate that. I think that's one of the things that Mike and I have strived to do with the LPK group, with our guys, Todd Ayers and Michael Shad, Jeff Kemelgor and Lee Hughes. And then, you know, we've got a great operational team in Eric Evans, Todd Wharf, and Lisa Matasius. We look for that middle ground because we want to spur individuality and individual leadership, but we also want them to know that we're here to help. Absolutely. So if something's wrong, you can come to us, and it's not going to be a judgment situation, but we do encourage you to step forward and take initiative and try to do some things on your own.
Absolutely. So moving on here, how would you say you present yourself as a professional to either the consumer or to the realtors?
Well, there's a lot of different ways. One of the things that we actually talked about today on our call at 9:15 was you've got to have a presentation. People sometimes don't understand this, Rocco, but selling is telling. And the S and the T are changed. That's all you're doing, is you're changing the S and the T. It's still ELLING, but you have to sell in order to tell. When people look at selling as sometimes negative, or they think to themselves, oh, you know, what does that mean? We use a proprietary system called an I4AW program. It's something that Mike and I created years ago, and it stands for introduction. And then the 4A stand for alignment, assessment, agreement, achievement. And then the last piece is the W, which is the win process. And so the win process is constantly changing, Rocco, because what win is nothing more than an acronym for what's important now. And what may be important now is a Skype call with a brand new borrower. What may be important now is a tax return. What may be important now is a further understanding of the child support. But you've got to take and work with customers and clients so that they can be presented in a way that they can learn. And there's three ways that people like to learn, Rocco. They kinesthetically learn, where they feel their way through the learning process. They visually learn by seeing their way through the learning process. And then they auditorily learn by hearing their way through the process. We take great pride in making sure that we don't make any assumptions about that. We take an approach that kind of comes in and says, look, let's get introduced to each other and let's get aligned. And if we align with each other and you like me and I like you and I feel like we can make this happen as a loan advisor, let's then start to assess your situation. Let's look at your W-2s. Let's look at your tax returns. Let's take a look at your debt to income ratio. And after we assess that, let's get to an agreement to where what your rate's going to look like, what we can do for you, how we can make this work. And then let's work on the achievement phase, which is getting you out with your realtor, making sure that you go out and find the home that you want, look for the proper alignment in the sense of whether you need concessions or you don't need concessions, whether you're looking in USDA areas or you're not looking in USDA areas, but really kind of put them in a position where they can achieve it. And then last but not least, we get to the win process, and that's getting to the closing table and finishing the deal up.
That sounds like an awesome process and system you have there. How did you come up with that?
You know, I'd like to take full credit for it, but I've got to give a lot of credit to Thad Pascal and Jack Grimm out of Protect America and Steve Romano from Southern Foods. These were previous mentors of mine that taught me the importance and the impact, Rocco, on presentation skills. You cannot do anything in life efficiently and effectively if you don't present yourself. You've got to understand that just because somebody's looking for a mortgage, you wouldn't take them and when they call and ask for this to have any longevity or any root system to it. If you said, Rocco, great, glad you called me. What's your social security number and what's your date of birth? And let me see if I can get you approved. If it's that easy for Rocco to do, Rocco would just turn around and do the same thing with Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Envoy, or someone else. There wouldn't be any reason to not do it again because your paradigm would be, well, I called the dude, he's the pro, and he asked me like 6 questions and I was off the damn phone. So for us, it's really about understanding that we owe it from a fiduciary relationship to the client as well as to our referral partners to take people through an exercise. And in that exercise, build value so that they can see it, they can feel it, and they can hear it, and they can understand, as you know, Rocco, because you're a pro, mortgages are complicated. I mean, they truly are. They are not cut and dry. They're not simple. Heck, Rocco, sending in a bank statement that's not legible slows us down. And most people don't even think of that. They don't think, really, you were looking at the ledger, you're going to check my social security number on my social security card to the social security number on my credit report? Yes, because you could have an alias or an AKA. You could have something else that you're doing, okay? And so from that perspective, the devil's in the details, and you've got to take a lead. You've got to articulate yourself to your realtor partners, to your potential customers that become clients. Because listen, a customer spends their money anywhere, but a client carries the YMCA card. A client carries Peak Fitness card. A client goes to GNC for their vitamins because they believe in it. That's different than a customer. Customer just buys vitamins at CVS, Walgreens, wherever. But a client truly goes to GNC because they feel like it's better. You've got to build that value through basically taking people through a process. And in that process, you start to separate yourself from the masses and people start to buy in and believe, you know what? The reason I decided to do this with Rocco was your professionalism and your follow-up. I didn't know you, but the way you presented yourself to me and also the way that you've put this together made me think, see, and feel professionalism. And so here I am at 11:20 on a Thursday morning on the phone with you or on a Skype call with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what would you say is the most satisfying or rewarding thing about your job?
Seeing people grow, seeing people happy. When you talk about, for example, a loan advisor that may have never made $10,000 before, to be able to see them make $10,000. I have a loan advisor this month, don't want to use his name. He's going to make over 20 grand this month. And that's a lot of money. That's an awful lot of money. The reality is it's not just about that, but when you come down to, if you will, Rocco, and think about the consumer, it's about seeing the divorcees land on their feet. It's about seeing a husband and wife who have a dream, achieving that dream. It's about seeing somebody move to a new chapter of their life as it relates to, I never thought I could buy, I'm the first homeowner, or all I've ever known how to do is rent. I really didn't understand the impact of my debt to income, my time on my job, my assets, my loan to value. I didn't understand my FICO score. I didn't understand what a tri-merge was. And that ability to have an industry, Rocco, that you and I work in, that you can communicate about, you can educate people about, you can provide service at a high level, and you can show them effort. And I'm not saying this negatively, but I'm just using an analogy. Buying a car is not getting a mortgage. And that process of getting a mortgage is very different. And we as loan advisors need to take advantage of that. And the general public wants it. Too often we think, well, it's just call center stuff. We just want to get the deal done. No, they don't. They want to understand so that they have a feeling about the process. And the process is important.
Absolutely. That's definitely another aspect to it, is advising them and educating them throughout the whole process so they feel comfortable and they feel like what they're doing is right.
You're right. You're right, Rocco.
So Jason, let's shift gears here for a second. What would you say back in 2014 when you guys started? What would you say were your biggest struggles or obstacles you guys had faced early on?
Well, as you know, Rocco, anytime you start a business, there are many.
Yep.
The reality was believing that what we were doing and how we were going to do it actually was going to work, and that it had substance to it, that it could kind of extend the olive branch in an industry that has become somewhat commoditized. We're dealing with compression on margins. We're dealing with compression on commissions. We're dealing with compression throughout it because it's becoming commoditized, somewhat like the car business. And the reality is that the federal government's never going to let somebody originate their own loan. The federal government is not going to allow people to do things the way that they were done prior to 2008. So our biggest challenge was simply believing in the fact that what we're doing from a 4 cornerstones, communicate, educate, serve, and do it with effort, that it actually worked through providing effort. You could provide a service, the same service you can get at a bank or anywhere else. You can go online, heck, anymore, Rocco, you don't even have to talk to anybody. You can just go online and do whatever you want to do. But where we wanted to differentiate ourselves was we wanted to educate the consumer and the realtor to the process. We wanted to kinesthetically, auditorily, and visually educate them and build that all around the process of communication. And so that belief mechanism was the hardest thing to hold on to during some trying times and stay with it. Today, we're growing and growing quite fast, thank God. But AnnieMac has a lot to do with that as well. Not that I want to get on a pub about them, but they're a very special, unique group of people. And the tools that they have allow us to go to market with a variety of different offerings for the realtor, as well as for the interaction with the consumer.
Absolutely. If you want other people to believe in your product or your service or what you have to offer, you have to first believe it yourself. You have to first close yourself on that belief, and then you'll be able to close other people. So what tips or advice would you give to a loan officer who's just starting out?
Well, I would say it's a handful of things. Number one, you've got to set a schedule. If you don't set a schedule, you're going to constantly be reacting to things, and you're going to be the tail instead of the dog. And you really want to be you want to be in control. You've got to set a schedule. Number two, I highly recommend that you search somebody out like yourself or somebody that you can get good mental fodder from and really ask, believe, and receive. The law of attraction. Ask for the things you want out of the industry. Believe that you're worthy of having them and be willing to receive them, in the sense that once you have a schedule, the next thing you have to do is you have to have a belief. And you have to understand that you can do the job. If you don't, it's already bankrupt. The third thing I would say, Rocco, that's really important is you got to get a presentation. You have to have a way of coming to a person like you, coming to a customer, a client, and a realtor. As much as we want to just wing it, or think that we're natural athletes, the reality is the best of the best in whatever it is, they practice, they have a way, and they have a systematic approach. Now, in the midst of the tennis match, in the midst of the basketball game, in the midst of the baseball game, we read and react, but the preparation as we come into it is the same. So you've got to have a presentation. You've got to have some way of taking yourself to them. The fourth thing, Rocco, for a new loan advisor is they got to understand it's a contact sport. It's contact. If you don't want to make the calls, send the texts, send the emails, then this is probably not a good place for you. It's probably not an industry for you, because at the end of the day, this is what you're doing. You're leading by example right now. You've contacted me. We've started to build an acquaintanceship. It looks like it potentially could become more and become a friendship. But the reality of the day is it's a contact sport. So if you're shying away from that, or you don't want to be a part of that, the success will be really hard for you to find. You can't hide in this business. You can't hide. And then probably the last thing that I would recommend to a new loan advisor is Don't get caught up on how much money you're trying to make or you want to make. Your basis points. I want 100. I want 105. Screw that. Okay. What you really need to do is find somebody that's going to lead you and groom with you and help to grow you. Because let me be very blunt with you. If you're paid 100 basis points, which I don't have one guy at that level, they're all above that. But if you're paid 100 basis points, which in our industry is their compensation, and in that 100 basis points, that's all you're being paid, you're only able to do 3 loans because that's the capacity you have, and that's all that you're able to get done with who you are and what you are. And you're getting caught up. And if I was just making 120 a deal, if I could just make 125 and change companies, let me explain something to you. 125, changing companies on 3 deals is only 75 more basis points on your total volume.
Yeah.
How about you learn from a guy like Rocco how to go get one more deal at 100 basis points? You've increased your pay another 25 basis points without even moving companies. You also don't look like a job hopper. How about you learn to go get 2 more deals and go from 3 to 5 at 100? And it doesn't matter if you go somewhere else and get paid 125 basis points and you're still doing 3. The name of the game is about growth, maturation, and stick-to-itiveness. You've got to have stick-to-itiveness, Rocco, in this game because it is not simplistic. We're not building Ford F-150s on an assembly line in Detroit.
Absolutely. And random question, do you study the law of attraction at all?
Absolutely, I do. Big proponent of The Secret.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, I did. Rocco, I've watched that thing no less, and I'm not BSing. I've watched it no less than 20 times. And I believe the reason why you've got to continue to go back, it's practice. As an ex-basketball player, I didn't shoot 100 free throws at 15 years old and say, well, I'm great now. That's it. I don't have to do this anymore. The rest of it will be done in the game. I've probably shot 10,000, 15,000 practice foul shots in my life to be a 78%, 77% free throw shooter. And that's what it took. So, you ask about the law of attraction. I think too many times we as people forget, Rocco, that asking the universe, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about yours and my relationship was not born out of nowhere. It came into existence.
Yeah.
But you put energy out there. I put energy out there. Somehow, aren't you in Chicago, Rocco?
I'm in Chicago.
I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. I mean, are you kidding me? How does those two line up in this crazy chaotic world? I'll tell you how it does. Rocco put business and energy out there. Jason put it out there, and they found each other, and we believe. And so here we are. You have to apply the law of attraction in all aspects of your life, professionally, personally, physically. What you think about yourself is the way you're going to look. If you think you're some meat suit running around, you're going to be a meat suit running around.
Definitely. Although I've never watched the movie, I've read the book. I read the book because I'm a huge fan of Conor McGregor, and he read the book. And I study his interviews and his press conferences more than I watch his fights, just because he used the secret such an effective way. And a lot of people think it's BS, the secret, but they don't understand the third rule of the creative process, which is you need to act on belief and act on what you want, and then that's where the true manifestation comes from.
Let me point out something, or let me flip the script on you just for a minute. Why don't you elaborate on acting, Rocco, on what that means? Because I think that people that are watching this, that are involved in this, that's a piece that many people, what ends up happening, in my opinion, is they stand still and it passes them by because they can't act.
Mm-hmm.
So when you watch Conor McGregor, which I think the guy's an unbelievable showman, and at the end of the day, if you're going to be Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali or Conor McGregor, you've got to have some sort of flair to you, and you have to develop it. You've got the hair going there, Rocco. That's the Rocco look right there. But tell me a little bit about acting on it. How do you see that playing out with people, and why they don't understand it so much?
Definitely. If they don't act on it, what you're putting out into the universe is you don't want it bad enough. So what the law of attraction will attract is the thing you act on most and that you think about most. So if you're not acting on it, then it'll assume that you don't want it. And that also comes to gratitude. So if you're not grateful for what you have, the universe takes that as, oh, he doesn't want more of it. But when you're grateful for what you have, it takes it as he's grateful, he likes it, so I'm going to give him more.
That's right. You know, Rocco, it's funny you said that. In our office, we have a lot of sayings, and maybe you and I'll do this again, and I'll take you around the office. I mean, we have a lot of sayings. It actually looks like an Alabama football locker room or the University of Louisville's basketball locker room. But we actually have attitude of gratitude right above the coffee machine all the way across a walk-through header. And we believe that you have to possess that to find true success in life. Life is difficult. You didn't ask for the coronavirus. I didn't ask for the coronavirus. We didn't ask for the last 4 years of gains to drop out of the market. So, you know, it is what it is. And so now what we have to do is we have to reestablish ourselves, reestablish our beliefs, and believe that all good things come in a manner that doesn't always reveal itself when you want it. But if you hold on to the thought long enough and you have gratitude towards it and you continue to ask and believe, you have to believe, you'll receive it when it shows up. And that action that you're talking about of acting, that's your job. That's the individual's job. And that goes back to, as we talked about earlier, taking in the mortgage arena, you've got to be able to ask for the business, believe that you're worthy of having the business, and you've got to be willing to receive the successes and the challenges that are associated with this industry that you and I work in.
Yeah, so with the gratitude, so every morning and night when I'm brushing my teeth, I go in my head all the things I'm grateful for, and I've developed a routine now of, because it's constant on what I'm grateful for. And even on the bad days that maybe something bad happened or someone I got into a fight with or something, I'm still grateful for them. So I remain constant on that gratitude because I know that as long as I'm constant, then I'll be able to receive what I'm going after.
You know, Rocco, I hope that people take time to learn a little bit more about you. And by default, maybe that'll provide some opportunities for people to learn a little bit more about me. But I think that it's unique that you've been able to not only understand, but command. That's what you just spoke to, is command the action and the activity associated. So kudos to you, bro. Somebody to look up to.
Thank you.
You're
and
welcome.
Also with the secret, do you know the guy Vitaly in it? One of the stars in it? Yeah, so he actually recommended a book called The Source. And I have it on my shelf. I haven't got to it yet, but it's basically The Secret, he said, but with a more scientific approach. So it goes more into the science of the secret and the law of attraction. So
I'll have to look that up. Cool. Thank you. I have to take a quick note.
Absolutely. So we're kind of running 28 minutes here. Let's get one more question in. So in recent years, technology has really made its impact into the industry. Since you started and where you are now, how has this affected you and your business?
Well, again, it's coincidental, and this is why I'm a big proponent. This is what we talked about today. If Todd was on the phone, or Michael Shad, or Jeff, or Mike Giacomo, they'd say, "Hey, this is what Jason we talked about today." Technology allows you to be omnipresent. So there really isn't a reason in this industry to where you couldn't provide a presentation to somebody. You couldn't provide facts, figures, and information in an organized manner. I mean, we use Encompass as our loan software. We actually share our desktops with people right now at this time, and we price their loans and we show them their rate sheet. We feel it's important to explain to them what's going on. We feel it's important to understand what PAR means and how this industry works. So technology has really impacted us in a way that allows us to be omnipresent with our job. Whereas in the past, without stuff like what you and I are doing right now, it would be a phone call without the face, without the mannerisms. With a Skype call, as you know, or a GoToMeeting, we can turn around and share our desktop. So we actually use a leave behind, and we walk people through who we are, what we do, and how we do it, so they can gravitate towards the process, so they can understand intellectually, conceptually, emotionally, what all is involved. We actually have a sheet that spells out all the different boxes that have to be checked. So technology is a huge help in being able to take what is a intangible, innate object, a mortgage. I mean, let's be honest, you don't have your mortgage in that house you live in hanging on the wall proudly. I don't have it hanging on my wall. It's in a safe somewhere. But the reality is this is something much like insurance the process of articulating it and educating people to it and bringing them to an area where they understand, because are you selling me? What are you doing to me? The reality is that we all get our money from Freddie, Fannie in certain places. And then it all becomes margin. A difference between a 4.5 and a 4 pennies on the dollar, depending on how many thousands of dollars you're borrowing. I mean, $7, $10. If you can't stomach that for better communication, for better education, for better service, then you probably need to go to Quicken and deal with that Mickey Mouse-ness that's over there. No disrespect. I'd love to be the CEO and president of Quicken. They've done an amazing job, but it's a different kind of an experience. And I believe, to your point, if they use technology more effectively, we'd all be in trouble out here in the general public, because they've got, in the loan game, because they've got a huge market share. They honestly do. So technology has really helped us. It's allowed us to be very transparent. It's something that also has really benefited us as loan advisors. We have a program called Slide Dial. It's the ability to drop voicemails into consumers without the phone ringing. Love it. We have a program called Co-Video that's on our phones that we have for our guys. We can record videos and share them, put backgrounds on them, be able to send and help with messaging. Love it. It's absolutely unbelievable. Technology has allowed us to, through the automation of we have a robot at AnnieMac. We actually have a robot, and that robot is doing our disclosures. So our speed to disclosing is gotten tremendous. I mean, we can fly through the loan process because of this robot. And we're testing some robots out right now that we're investing in for underwriting, because underwriting is underwriting, and it's basically guidelines, and it's following a guideline that's preset. So if you can write code to that, you could underwrite a file technically. And so we're excited about where technology is, and we're excited about where technology is going to take us in the future, especially here at the LPK Group with AnnieMac Home Mortgage.
Definitely. Technology allows you to streamline process and definitely makes speed increase. So it's the same thing that you're doing. It just allows you to do it in such a shorter period of time.
Yes, it does.
Well, Jason, I really want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. I had a great time talking with you. I really appreciate your time.
Likewise, Rocco. Thanks for having me on too, buddy.
And thank you to all the viewers for watching, and we'll see you again next episode.